welcome to the Aragon Analytics channel. This will be a review of the Zero Tolerance 0560 in G10 and titanium. The knife is retailing for around the 260-ish range. It's made in the USA by Zero Tolerance, which is a kind of a gussied up division of Kershaw. Overall length on the knife open be 8.75 inches, blade length 3.75 inches, thickness on the blade is 0.16 inches. It's L-Max steel. The blade style is a drop point with a hollow grind and a stone-washed finish. Handle length is 5 inches, closed length is 5.125 inches, handle thickness is 0.58 inches. Handle material is G10 on one side and machined titanium on the other. It's a flipper style flipper style opening system with an integral frame lock. And I believe the weight on it is 5.98 ounces. Now onto the blade itself here. It's a good looking knife. It's a little expensive. It's extremely well made. And the first thing that you notice when you pick this thing up and handle it, it's extremely robust. It's also very well textured both on the titanium side and the G10 side. It's grippy without being abrasive. You have really nice jimping on the top of the knife here and some somewhat adequate jimping on the top of the blade. The knife deploys well. Lockup is, very, very sturdy. You can see I'll give you an idea of what the centering is like. And that looks pretty good to me. The tip of the blade there is so thick. It looks like it's very well centered. And a big positive for me on this knife is the ability to position the clip 4 ways: left, right, tip up, and tip down. The timing on the lock mechanism here is pretty good. The one thing I'll ding them for on a knife this expensive, these titanium frame locks, I would really prefer for them to have a steel insert for where the lock bar meets the blade steel. Titanium, although it's extremely tough, it is softer than the steel that they're using, and it will eventually cause this knife, years into the future, this will continue to migrate that way to the point that it just sticks. And even under really hard flicky type deployments, I have had this knife kind of get a little stuck. Blade shape is nice. Kind of got a swedge on the top. It's kind of like a modified drop point. The blade steel L-Max. A lot of people gripe about L-Max. It was slightly difficult to sharpen, and to me, I'll summarize my experience with L-Max being that it's a little tougher to sharpen than Spyderco's version of S30V, and it doesn't hold an edge quite as well. And let me back this up for you guys a little bit so we can do some cutting demonstrations. I prefer to use newsprint for this sort of thing. It's hard, copy paper or printing paper is ridiculously easy to cut. Newsprint provides a little more of a challenge, and I'll try to, whenever I try to do this on camera, it never really does as well. But as you can see, it took an adequate edge. The problem with the knife, though, is not the ability of it to take an edge. That's a much better cut. you know, it is, I believe it is, yeah, it's shaving sharp, no doubt there. But, you know, it doesn't hold that edge as well as S30V in my experience. It's not a bad steel. I'd still consider it the lower end of premium steels, and I'm not really seeing it in a lot of newer designs. The flipper's well designed. The blade deploys without any problem whatsoever. There is one gripe, and I almost titled this video, How to Ruin a Pair of 511 Cargo Shorts in One Easy Step. That one easy step was to put this thing in the back pocket of my 511s and carry it around for a while the first day that I owned it, and then fall asleep on the couch. And then this happened in the pocket. Now you see where the pocket clip is and the degree of retention there. So it did one of these numbers, and I ended up with a huge hole in my cargo shorts. The other title I was going to give this review was How Not to Do a Detent. This is not how to do a detent. Now granted, this is a sample of one, but as you can see, I'm not really whipping the knife out, you know, just a slight, okay, a slight flick. This knife has virtually no detent. Now if you're pressing from the thumb stud, there's a little bit of a catch, but you know, that will not do. Not for a knife, you know, in that $260 range. So while it does lock up like a bank vault, and the steel is adequate and the ergonomics are amazing, it just forms, it feels like the knife forms into your hand rather than the hand forming to the knife. This is just an amazing ergonomic design. Problem here was that the detent sucks. Now my brother bought an identical ZT 0560. He still uses it as his EDC and his tactical blade. He is not big on carrying a bunch of extraneous stuff, and he doesn't carry redundancies. I'm a little wacky that way. He's a little more sensible. The detent on his ZT is not as loose as this one, but it is loose enough that he feels it necessary to carry the knife with his tactical light. If this is the pocket, the knife's in here, and he carries his tactical light clipped in front of it so that the blade is less likely to open in his pocket. He's willing to live with that because of the great attributes of this knife, and I kind of get it, but I'm not. So for that reason, this knife got DQ'd for carry, and you know, I guess I probably should send it back to Kershaw or ZT or KAI or whatever you want to call the company. I should send it back to Zero Tolerance to see if there's something they can do with the detent. But based upon the example that my brother has and ones that I've handled at the stores, the detent is never going to be what I would want it to be on something this sharp. I just for that reason, it stays out as like a box opener, box cutting, kind of heavy duty, working around the house kind of knife. It really doesn't get carried. So for that reason, I can't recommend the knife. So, you know, sorry to ZT. I have other ZT products. I really love the 0452 CF. And it has a much better detent. This, sorry folks, I just can't recommend it. So thanks for coming by to take a look at this blade, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.